So you're coming to Thailand, you've decided on the Pattaya area, but you can't choose between Jomtien or Pattaya Beach. Luckily, I've lived in both, so I'll answer some questions for you, help you figure it out. Let's go. Oh man, it is a cloudy, sweaty day here in Jomtien Beach, but can't complain. There's definitely worse places to be. But if you're new to the channel, I've been living in Thailand for almost a year now, pretty much exclusively in Pattaya. Spent like a couple weekend trips here and there, but I've been in Pattaya the entire time. I've stayed in Pattaya Beach, I've stayed in Jomtien, I've stayed in between both. And even though they're only about 15 minutes apart, there are some major differences, things that you may be looking for, things that you may not like. I'm gonna break down the things that I've figured out in my time here. That way, if you're having trouble making a decision on where you wanna be at, hopefully I got an answer for you. Now, first things first, if you're planning on Pattaya, I'm assuming that the beach probably has something to do with that. I'm assuming you want to soak up some sun during the day, relax under the umbrellas, drink a nice little coconut. Now, when it comes to Jomtien Beach and Pattaya Beach, they're pretty similar, honestly. Now, I would say that generally Jomtien Beach is a little bit more quiet, not quite as crowded. If you're planning on swimming, the water is a little bit cleaner. Only thing about Jomtien Beach is I definitely recommend being careful. Make sure you don't swim out of the designated areas because there's lots of jet skis and things like that. So you have to be careful and make sure you don't get run over. If you've ever seen a jet ski accident, they are brutal. So make sure you stay safe with that. But if you're looking for a more relaxed vibe, not quite as crowded, and you want to hang out on the beach and have just a little bit more access to everything, Jomtien is probably going to be your best bet. But at the same time, if you want to sit on the beach, hang out at some restaurants, drink a couple beers, maybe Pattaya Beach might be a little bit better for you just because it is a lot bigger, there's a lot more places, and you just got a few more options. Oh man, I'm on my way to get a coffee, and I'm usually a hot coffee guy, but it is warm today. I really don't know if that's gonna hit the spot. Might definitely be an iced coffee or maybe like a milkshake or something type day. It is definitely warm. A lot of people told me that this was gonna be the hottest time of year here, and I was like, dude, how could it be any hotter than it already was? Well, they were right. One great thing that Pattaya Beach and Jomtien Beach have in common is the accessibility to transportation. So if you know anything about the bot buses, they're essentially like the local bus routes here. They're both available in Pattaya Beach and Jomtien as well. And you can also take a bus between both of them. So don't feel like you're gonna be stuck at one or the other without paying a bunch of money for a taxi or anything like that. If you're in Pattaya and you wanna pop down to Jomtien for the day, or vice versa, you can hop on the bus. You'll be down here in about 15-20 minutes, depending on traffic, of course. But they're both readily available, as well as like the normal motorbike taxis, regular taxis, all that stuff. There's really no big difference. So if you're thinking about transportation as one or the other, not really that big of a deal. Now, going up and down the beach on the bot buses, there are more in Pattaya just because it's more crowded. So they're coming by more frequently, but really not too big of a deal. If you need one here in Jomtien, they're always cruising around as well. One of the major differences that I've definitely noticed in Jomtien compared to Pattaya, this might come as a bit of a surprise to you. It was to me for sure. I didn't really think it was gonna bother me that much, but it definitely did after a while. And that's just the noise in general. So Pattaya and Jomtien, pretty much all of Thailand, is essentially 24 hours a day. There's always people out, there's always people moving around. But in Pattaya, there's just a lot more foot traffic. There's a lot more people on bikes. So when it's 4 in the morning, you're tired, you're trying to sleep, and people just keep ripping up and down your street, it can get pretty old pretty quick. Now, there's certain spots in Pattaya where it's a little bit quieter, but in general, it's much louder. It might sound crazy loud here right now, but this is really nothing compared to how it is in Pattaya. So if you're kind of a light sleeper, or traffic noises and stuff like that bother you, or people yelling in the middle of the night, that's definitely something to think about. So if you're planning on staying in Pattaya anyway, try to find a place that's a little more offset, maybe a little bit farther away from Beach Road or Second Road, anything like that. but in general, you're definitely gonna hear a lot more racket at all times of the night. Now, of course, a major contributor to all that noise you're gonna be hearing in Pattaya is the nightlife aspect. So if you're planning on coming to Thailand because you wanna get your party on, you wanna go to some clubs and things like that, Pattaya is probably gonna be your better bet. In general, you just have better access to everything. There's more stuff within walking distance. Now, that's not to say that there aren't plenty of places in Jomtien where you can go and grab a beer and things like that. But generally, Jomtien is a little bit more low speed, more just like normal beer bars, shoot some pool, kind of hang out. There's not really nightclubs or anything like that over in here in Jomtien, but if you want to be removed from that and then go hop over when you want to get involved, that's kind of how I play it. And it kind of demotivates you, because I don't know about you, but sometimes I'm lazy. I'm like, man, I don't want to pay for a taxi. I don't want to go all the way over there. So it kind of helps keep you at the club. But if you're only going to be here for a couple weeks especially, and you want to get like the full experience and you want to have easy access to everything, Pattaya Beach is probably a little bit better. You're closer to Walking Street, Soi Buakhao, LK Metro, Tree Town, all that stuff, and all the buses, like we said earlier, run to all those, so it's super easy essentially to just walk out of your hotel or condo, hop on the bot bus, and get wherever you're going. Now, speaking of hotels and condos, when it comes to the differences between Jomtien and Pattaya, there are quite a few stark differences when it comes to accommodation. So Pattaya is definitely the prime real estate, so if you want to stay at the really bougie spots with the infinity pools on the roofs, valet parking, all that stuff, Pattaya is probably going to be your better option. If you're only going to be here for a little bit and you want to stay at a really nice spot, there are a few here in Jomtien, but all the nice place, all the Hiltons and all that stuff, those are pretty much all in Pattaya Beach. So if that's something that you're looking for, it's probably better to start looking over there first. Now, that's not to say you can't find some nicer spots over here in Jomtien as well, but in general, the buildings are a little bit older. All the new developments are generally going up in Pattaya. So if you're looking for the super bougie spot, you want to have the dope Instagram stories, Pattaya is probably your bet. One major difference that I really enjoy about the beach itself when it comes to Jomtien or Pattaya Beach is a lot of the times, like when they do like the windsurfing events or like fireworks shows, things like that, a lot of the time those things end up happening here in Jomtien. You might be able to tell, in general, it's just a little bit slower. The traffic isn't as bad and stuff over here, so it becomes a little bit more manageable for the city. I don't know how many times I've just come down here and been walking around on the beach and they've got some concert set up or some soccer tournament. There's all kinds of stuff going on all the time, and a lot of the times those things are happening here in Jomtien Beach. Now, of course, not all the time. There's stuff that goes on over in Pattaya as well, but if you like to just like happen into some stuff every once in a while, Jomtien's a pretty good spot to make that happen. This is pretty wild. I usually don't come out and shoot this early. I usually come out a little bit closer to like sunset, that golden hour when you get that pretty light. Wanted to come out a little bit earlier today though and just get the day rolling. But if you watched some of my previous videos, I'm sure you've seen down here by the water, and I don't know if I've ever come out here at low tide, and it goes way out, which is a trip. In California, you don't really notice that big of a difference between low tide and high tide minus the waves. But here you can see the seawall behind me. It is out like 50 or 60 meters, which is pretty wild. I've never seen it like this. Okay, so the nitty gritty, probably one of the biggest deciders for most people, pricing. Is there a price difference between Jomtien and Pattaya Beach? Absolutely. Now, when you go to like restaurants, bars and stuff, it's gonna be a little bit cheaper over here, not exponentially, but through my research and, you know, spending countless hours online looking at different prices for things, I would say that accommodation over here generally is like 20 to 30% cheaper than most of the places in Pattaya. Now, like we said, that does come with a grain of salt because some of the places over here are gonna be older, they're not gonna be as big, the buildings themselves aren't gonna be as nice, but the locations are great, you can be right on the beach, and most of the time, it's gonna be quite a bit cheaper than in Pattaya. In Pattaya, you're definitely paying for that convenience where you don't have to walk as far, take taxis as far. So if you do the math, it's probably gonna even out if you factor in taxis and things like that. But in general, if you wanna find a decent spot, especially if you're gonna be here long term, I definitely suggest looking in Jomtien and at least comparing to the same level of spot in Pattaya. So in summary, would I suggest Pattaya Beach or Jomtien? Well, it's kind of hard to say. I don't necessarily know your situation. I don't know if you're looking to be on a budget. I don't know if you're looking to come and spend a bunch of money. But hopefully I shared with you some of the major differences, hopefully some things that you're thinking about to help you make a better decision. But at the end of the day, I think you're gonna be happy pretty much no matter where you end up. And if you are spending a lot of time here, you'll be able to hang out at both and see what you're really looking for. I know a ton of people that prefer Pattaya, and I know a ton of people like myself that prefer Jomtien. It just really depends on how you like to live. As always, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to Tempus TV. If you do have any more questions about differences between Pattaya and Jomtien that maybe I didn't answer for you, feel free to just drop them in the comments below, and I'll make sure to answer them in a new video coming up soon. If you would like to see more and learn more about living in Thailand, go ahead, click the video on screen right now. Live streams are back, so get ready for those. And as always, hope you guys have a great day. We'll catch you in the next one.